Hey everyone, and welcome to The Difference, a podcast highlighting leaders who are making a difference in their teams, stores, and their communities. I'm Alexis Whaley.
And I'm Drew Holler.
Hey Drew, so we had a pretty special guest on today.
We did. Donna Morris. Donna runs the people division for the entire world at Walmart.
Yes.
The enterprise. And has been with the company over a year, but started right before the pandemic. And has shown immediate leadership from day one. And it was a joy to talk to her. We talked about her background, everything that she's learned from a leadership perspective, her takeaways from Walmart, how she makes these decisions. We just talked through and announced the new mask mandate for vaccine, for associates that have their vaccine. So we're just coming out of that. So she talked a little bit about how that decision was made. And it was a great conversation.
Yeah, no, and Drew, it's really nice that you said we had a conversation, but I feel like I maybe said 3 words because I was so nervous. So thank you for grouping me in on that.
You did great. Thanks, Drew. Awesome.
Let's get into it.
Let's go. One thing I thought we could jump into is today is earnings day. And it was a big day for us as a company. And just want to get your thoughts on the day and what we actually released.
Well, it was a super exciting day for us. So this was our Q1 earnings. And to see the reaction from our external world, so whether it be the financial media, someone like a Jim Cramer, who often can be both a proponent to companies, but sometimes he can be a detractor, saying that Walmart's results were joyous. Is really something that all of our associates should be very, very proud of. Why we delighted our shareholders, why we delighted the financial analysts is because we surpassed the expectation of the revenue that we actually delivered, as well as the earnings that we delivered. And that doesn't happen unless you have great associates that are making sure that product is in stock, available in stores, that the stores look great, that they get the service, that they get fresh produce. We definitely called out the fact that grocery was really up. And so for many of our associates that spend their day making sure that our fresh section in our stores looks fantastic, you should know that you're directly part of why it is that we're really seeing a great day and great stories about Walmart's performance.
Yeah, great results don't just happen, especially in a company this size. And it's, I think you're right. It is a great reflection of, all the hard work. This has been a tough year. And seeing all that hard work kind of come to life from a results perspective. Is great. When you think about that quarter, we also did some investment from a wage perspective, invested in some associates, and we think that may have helped us as well through the quarter. Or any thoughts around how that's tied from a people perspective?
I think it absolutely is. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe all of us as associates want to know that we play a role in impacting our customers and meeting the needs of our communities. And in the changes that we made in store, frankly, to make changes which impacted more than 450,000 associates, and to see that we did not miss a beat in our ability to actually serve our customers is fantastic. That speaks volumes about our associates' ability to be resilient, to deal with new roles, new responsibilities, and hopefully our associates are realizing that we're focused on investing in what we're calling our ladder of opportunity and making sure that adjustments to their hourly rates actually are provided for in alignment with what those roles and responsibilities are. So I think it's super exciting. I mean, just the fact to step back and to know we're still in the midst of a pandemic. Good news is it looks like it's trailing in the right direction, which is down. We made the exciting announcements just last week in terms of our desire to get as many of our associates vaccinated. And equally, once they become vaccinated, their ability to get a $75 incentive, which is super exciting. I call that out because those vaccinations have driven a lot of traffic to our stores. and our pharmacists have risen to the challenge. But when our customers come in for their perhaps COVID shot, they're also shopping our stores. And so once again, this is a full circle of change in uncertain time, whereby the associates have really stood up continually to just deliver impact, which is super exciting to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. I did want to talk to you about, so Thursday and Friday, for those of you, kind of some behind the scenes, Donna and I were actually supposed to go to stores on Friday, and the CDC announced their new guidelines, I think Thursday afternoon. And by Friday afternoon, we had our guidelines out, our new policy. And so it'd be interesting just to get your thoughts or to hear, like, how did those decisions happen? And you've had, since joining the company, you've had a lot of those days where we had this new information. We got to react fast. You got to make decisions based on keeping over 1 million associates safe. At the same time, customers safe, and all of these different things that you have to take into play. But how did that decision kind of come about in those 24 hours? And what's some of your thought
first
process?
off, once again, Drew, I was excited. I had the lineup and it was all organized. We were going to head out there. But we established a set of guiding principles last year when we first experienced COVID. And I actually think, Drew, you might have been in the EOC that day, or if you weren't, you were around us, but that was in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And we basically decided as an organization and as a leadership team that the health and safety, the well-being of our associates would be our guide to what we did. Mm-hmm. And throughout the pandemic, we focused on first implementing the COVID emergency leave policy, then standing up 6-2100, 6 feet apart, make sure that you're washing your hands for 20 seconds, temperature over 100. We stood up the health assessments. We made sure that we implemented masks. In fact, we implemented masks before many other retailers and many other stores. So all of a sudden last Thursday, we get this news bulletin. And I recall being in a meeting where some of the other EC, so the EC would be Doug's direct reports, so people like John and Rachel and Brett, et cetera. A few of us were in the meeting and all of our phones were going off, and we were getting these alerts from, whatever your news source was, CNN, New York Times, whatever news source. And all of us were like, whoa, what does this mean? And so what happens, Drew, is basically probably no different than any other team that faces a critical question for which you have to actually respond to it in an expedient manner. We wanted to make sure that we were putting the health and well-being of our associates, but also our customers at the forefront. So we quickly got together and frankly dropped everything, got into frankly a Zoom meeting. And we quickly talked about, if CDC's guidance is now to enable associates to feel comfortable, those that are vaccinated, not wearing masks, same with our customers, then we needed to alter our approach. And we, at the same point in time, realized that we needed to continue to educate and incent around vaccinations. And we know that that's a very personal choice. So we made the decision, we had already been doing some work on potentially an incentive. So we made the decision to couple the incentive with the announcement around masks and to work rapidly so that we could announce it the next day. And as you know only too well, Drew, that with over 5,000 stores, and then we have distribution centers, fulfillment centers, we have our Sam's Clubs. That means we had to think about, well, what's the process? What's the protocol? How do we actually manage this? And I will tell you that there were some people that were hoping Friday, we'd make the decision that Friday, masks across everything. And I believe we landed in a really good spot, which was, hey, customers first, let's get them comfortable, because there are still different mandates across states in the country. And then we rolled it out as of today for any associate that's vaccinated to start to demonstrate proof of vaccination to trigger that incentive. So that was awesome.
Wow.
And then the second piece of awesome news is that we were able to actually work with the technology team so that today we're actually able to start process those incentive payments. So when individuals are ready, when they're vaccinated, they're actually going to be able to bring in their documentation and it'll be on a future pay. So that's really exciting. And the teams worked really quickly to make that happen.
That's great.
Cool.
And working on really good feedback in stores as well. And a lot of associates are happy we made the change based on the guidelines, and those that feel comfortable are taking advantage of it. I thought we'd jump a little bit into Adobe. Those of us that may not, when we think of Adobe, we think of PDF, or we think of Photoshop, or we think of all the different products that you had. But it's a fascinating company with a long history and a very creative company. But I just want to get your thoughts, maybe just people to hear a little bit about how you started there, your career path, and then a little bit about the company, and maybe some things you took away from it.
Sounds great. Well, let me rewind before Adobe, and Adobe is an exceptional company that will always be near and dear to my heart. But like many of our associates perhaps joining today, I actually started in customer service. So if I roll way back, I've had a part-time job since I was 13, and it wasn't child labor in Canada. I know some people are like, what happened there? But you were actually able to work at 13, which is really young. And I worked at a dry cleaners, but I aspired to work at the drugstore, which was called Shoppers Drug Mart. It's a chain of drugstores in Canada. And they hired starting at 15. So I worked for Shoppers Drug Mart from the time I was 15 until I was in my early 20s. And in fact, I worked at Shoppers while I was going to high school, when I was going to university. When I even started in human resources, I kept my Shoppers job. One, I liked the discount, and we did have these, similar. But I really liked working with different people, and to me, it was like fun. Like back to teams. I first started, and it will lead me down the path to HR. I promise everyone, but I first started as like general cashier when you actually had to ring in and remember the, prices of things and that type of thing. It wasn't scan and go. I'm confused by that.
That's right.
Challenging. Like, where's the code? And then I went into cosmetics, and in cosmetics, it drove a lot of margin. It was like our GM. So I worked in cosmetics, and I loved the team I worked on. And so team often keeps you somewhere. Right. And what I learned in those first, and I'll call them formative years because they led to where I am today, is business is only as successful as the people you bring on and the teams that you build.
Yeah. And
I also started to build a passion for service, like just serving people. I had no clue what human resources was. I went to university in my hometown. After all these part-time jobs, you'd think, oh, okay, great. She saved a lot of money. But obviously I was a spender. And we had two great universities in my hometown. And my father asked for my bank book. That's when you actually went to the bank, got it printed. And I didn't have money to go away. My parents didn't have money to send me away. So I was what we'd call a commuter student. I went to university at Carleton University. And then in the evenings, I would have time. So I'd work at the drugstore. And then in my second year of university, I sort of put my head up and said, like, what am I doing? I'm taking political science. Am I going to be a politician? What am I going to do? And I started to apply for all these jobs. And there was a job in human resources for the city of Ottawa. And the first criteria on that job posting was customer service. And I thought, wow, like I actually know how to do that. So I interviewed for the job, and I ended up getting a job in benefits and pensions. And basically it was providing service to people who were at the end of their career. Most of them were retiring police or firefighters, sometimes, city workers, and they had their benefits and their pension with the city. And so I was like, this very young person getting this experience and realizing, wow, this function's all about business and people. And I went back to university, and subsequently when I was graduating, they offered me a full-time job. And in Canada, there is a designation program similar to SHRM here in the US. and you're really recommended to take it. So I got my full-time job. I went to school part-time to get my credentials in HR, and I kept my Shoppers Drug Mart job because, that was on the weekend. And I remember I was actually engaged to be married. This is fast forward. And my father was like, okay, you work in human resources, you're getting married, and you have this job at Shoppers Drug Mart, like something has got to go. So I decided I was moving on from Shoppers, but I ended up taking those early service jobs and frankly, a work ethic, and turning that into a passion for driving change and having that change through people. And so the city led me to Rogers, which is sort of like the Comcast of Canada. It's a communication company. I ended up going back to the city to do compensation. And then I got into technology. So I was with a tech company called Fulcrum, which was search engine retrieval. Think of it at the same time as Yahoo, pre-Google. Yep. And it was being bought, and the market was pretty frothy. There were a lot of HR jobs, and I was fortunate to have a lot of different opportunities. And I literally could take all of my office belongings and go to the software company literally right next door, or I could have taken another software job that was further away. And I was a young mom at the time, and I thought, no, I'm staying in the building. And that led me to a company called JetForum that would become Excelio, which would become acquired by Adobe. And I grew rapidly from, the HR manager to the director to the VP of HR. And I was literally in my early 30s. And I worked for an incredible CEO who gave me a lot of experience and a lot of feedback in leadership, and really how to instill a culture around performance. And when Adobe looked to buy the company, it's because we were part of an acquisition that went bad. And we were looking for another company to buy us so that we could actually safeguard the jobs of people. And in HR, you usually don't go on the journey after an acquisition. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to have to find another opportunity. But long story short, I was part of the diligence process where they look at why they want to buy the company with Adobe. And I literally, their head of HR at the time, said to me, I remember looking out at the canal, which is the longest skating rink in the world. It's body of water that freezes over in Ottawa. And it was snowing. It was really cold. And she said, listen, we really like what we see. Eventually I'll need a successor. What about moving to California and heading up talent for us? And I'm looking at the snowflakes and I'm thinking, wow.
California sounds pretty good.
I said, maybe this is something I should think about, right? And long story short, I ended up going to California with my husband, my then very small son, thinking that we'd be there for a few years. And I spent 18 years at Adobe. And to some degree, I simply put, probably would still be at Adobe now if it wasn't for three things. And that's that Adobe had incredible success, and I garnered a lot of experience in different areas, including the customer experience, which I led for a few years, customer and employee experience. And I realized there's got to be more to my ability to make impact than this one company, as much as I love it. So that was one. Two was, I really wanted a company that had purpose. And I put together a list of the companies that, like, hey, if this ever came up, maybe I'd listen. And Walmart was one of them. And then third, tragedy happened here at Walmart, and you went through the terrible situation with El Paso. And then the business roundtable. And I felt this company had so much focus on your people and values that if I had that opportunity, I really wanted to consider it. And that's what led me here.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, we could talk for hours. I have like 5,000 follow-up questions, but I will ask you one. You talked about the CEO that touched a lot of leadership lessons back before the acquisition. Anything that comes to mind, some of those lessons that he taught you? Like, what were you taking?
The first and foremost, Drew, is he gave it to me straight. So it wasn't platitudes. It wasn't like, Donna, you're doing all these things well. frankly, he routinely would tell me the things that I needed to improve upon.
Mm-hmm.
And he would underscore that my strengths were always going to be my strengths, but that my weaknesses, I would probably only ever get average in those areas.
Yep, sure.
But that I needed to continue to focus on developing those areas. So that was something that's always stuck with me. He would correct me behaviorally. So, he would observe me with my peers who frankly were all men and they were all older than me.
Yep.
And he would give me feedback, not in the moment, which could embarrass me or call me out, but afterwards. And it was so respectful, but so direct that it stuck with me as that truly is a gift. And he would even use that term, like feedback is your gift. And I think, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But over time, I realized the learnings that I had always came from, frankly, failure and not necessarily from winning. You feel good about winning, but you don't necessarily change your behavior. So that really stuck with me. And then he himself had actually grown up in Xerox and he'd worked there a long time. Xerox had at that time been known for sales management training and rigor around growth and development. And he was always pressing me around what are we doing to really give people experiences in job. And that's why I love what what the team has done with teaming. It's like grow people in jobs. So those points stand out to me. And having a leader, his name is Kevin, and he's still someone who he's since retired, et cetera, but he's back in Canada. He actually ended up in California working for another tech company for a number of years. So it was fun that we were both in the Bay Area, but having a leader that was so pivotal in my own growth, if I could be a fraction of Kevin to people who've worked for me, then I will feel like I've had a lot of career success. And I do look at individuals that I've had the chance to work with that have gone on to do great things. I'm so proud. To me, that's the best gift of being a leader.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about is like if I were to graph my personal growth, the inflection points is whenever either I failed at something or I had somebody that was willing to tell me the truth, whether that's somebody that worked for me, somebody I worked for, somebody I worked around. But those development is really what pushes you forward, right? It's sometimes a little bit painful sometimes, but it's always helpful, right?
Yeah.
Donna, as you're talking about your story, one, it's really incredible to just take in all of the experience that you've had. And somebody who's only been with Walmart for, I think, 4 years in August, one of the things that I know I have mentioned with my peers has been around risk taking. And sometimes it can be really scary to kind of take that leap and to go forward with it. And, what is something that you would suggest for someone who is wanting to take that risk, but is scared to do it?
So great question. I don't think you get reward unless you take risk.
Yeah. And
I will say, no way am I in the job I'm in today if I didn't take risks. If I didn't leave, and that's the amazing thing about Walmart is there's a lot of people who actually what they've done to me would have been a risk. Like moving from my hometown was like a huge risk for me. Like, oh my gosh, I've only ever lived there. But like, if I didn't leave my hometown, I would never have been able to do all these things. And so I always say to people when they're thinking of risk is think of what the potential long-term reward would be. And most important, will you have regrets? Because no one wants to have regrets, right? And we all have some along the way, like, oh, I could have done, should have done, whatever. And you never want to live in the past. And you never want to have a regret. But if something is worth going for, then you have to be open to the fact that if it isn't what it was meant to be, you can always go back or you can always go into another direction. So, if anything, I would say, allow yourself the opportunity to not see it as a risk, but see it as a reward. Like, what will you gain from it as opposed to what will you lose from it? And if you take that, hey, there's additive opportunity, then hopefully that sort of helps you navigate and you can always go back. You can always go back. Something else was so much better, you can always do a U-turn, right? And that's correct.
Perfect.
Yeah, my dad used to say, you either want to be in the arena or you want to be in the crowd.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in the arena, be on the field, it takes risk. But not everybody's willing to go out there. But I think a lot of times that's what it takes. It takes that moment in time where you have to consciously think, do I want to go into the field or do I want to sit on the sidelines? And I think I've had many of those. And it does, Alexis, I think to your point, it takes courage, right?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, Alexis, when you say about the team is, I think the role of all of us is to be the champions, or I'll use the term cheerleader. I was a cheerleader in high school. Be the cheerleader for those people, right? Because often we all have self-doubt. I put it this way. If individuals have humility, they have self-doubt.
That's right.
It's just naturally, and this is a humble company. So I believe most associates definitely have our fair share of self-doubt. So I think it's incumbent upon others to actually amplify people's strengths and to basically lift people up, to give them the courage to go for things. And I think leaders that are really effective, they sometimes spot things in people that otherwise they might not see in themselves, or they just encourage them. They're the champion, they're the cheerleader to say, you know what, Alexis, you got to at least try it. You got to go for it. And here's why you go. And, no harm, no foul.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right. One of the thoughts I had was with you coming into Walmart now, what's been some of your surprises, if any? This is obviously it's a huge job from a people perspective. It's one of the most impactful jobs that you can have across the U.S. and comes with a lot of responsibility. And when you kind of see things from outside the company, may be different even when you get inside the company. But have you had any surprises that you thought maybe it was different than you thought it was going to be, or?
There's been a lot of things that have been honestly so much more rewarding than I might have hoped for in terms, and I guess the challenge with the pandemic was everything that we've had to all go through, but at least we've all gone through it together. So that's been positive. Like to some degree, the company seems smaller than our 2.2 million or our 1.5 million. Like it actually, the way we operate, the way we work together in teams, the way we partner to get things done, I really like the agility at scale. It's super impressive. And it's much better than I thought. A lot of the other surprises are we can move at speed for our scale. Like I never thought that we'd be able to. People truly are our most important asset, at least from my viewpoint. People are genuinely super kind. They live our values. So all that's being like, wow, it's exactly as advertised.
What are some of those things that you're proud about from a digital perspective as we think about that part of the strategy?
Well, I'm super excited about what Walmart US is doing in terms of Me at Walmart. That's a breakthrough. I think that's fantastic. Putting not just devices, to me, it's like the app itself that allows you to actually work effectively in your role, but also navigate who you are as an individual, as an associate, and your information. So that's like really good. I'm pleased that we now have Workday at least implemented for a bulk of the organization. We still have supply chain. We still have Puerto Rico to go. We are every month doing probably 50 to 60 enhancements to Workday, particularly Workday recruitment. So there's a lot underway there. We've got some exciting work. I was just on a call earlier this morning about skills and some opportunities for us around the matching of skills and individuals. Drew, I know that you've got some great work going on there. So excited. I'm excited about how we might be able to use technology to unlock those that are coming out of LBU into other opportunities. So there's just so much to be done in our talent space, because I think our greatest asset is the fact that we have a marketplace for incredible associates that hopefully don't want to just have a job with Walmart. They want to have a career. And the only way we can do that effectively is through digital. One thing I really embraced when I was at Adobe, and the parallels are so important here at Walmart, is there's often a fear that as soon as we talk digital or tech, that means jobs are going.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Yeah. You
can never replace human empathy, and you can never actually replace creativity by technology. And it was something we talked a lot about at Adobe, because a big portion of our business was creative technology, but it was also digital marketing technology and technology to enable digital transformation. And if I look at Walmart, the reality is the more we actually embed technology into our ways of working, the more important it is for our associates to have those engaging experiences with our customers. And that really becomes an unlock for us around service and how we think of service. And that can be done in digital fashion as well, but it cannot be such. And I worry at times people think, ooh, antibodies, I really don't want to know what's going to happen in terms of digital or tech, because that means jobs. And it's actually just changes the job and hopefully enriches the job.
That's right.
And the exciting thing that I've seen here at Walmart that I didn't expect as well is we actually drive more change and more digital around ways of working for our front line than we do for those that are working in home office. We actually have to raise our bar of expectation for how digital we embrace in home office jobs to the same degree that we're doing in our front line.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, we could, like I said, we could talk forever. And this has been excellent. One of the things I thought I'd ask though, you have a big audience here. A lot of people may be new to role, people that are a new coach or a new team lead, and they're listening to this and trying to understand what they could do better to further their career. But any last words that you would want to say to them, either as encouragement or advice?
First, I want to say we're so fortunate to have you as part of the Walmart team. And your opportunity is created by what's most important to you. And so if I think of the ladder of opportunity, I think back to, honestly, the younger self that I was. And someone who's worked for a very long time. And I know that with hard work and with focus, and frankly, with putting your hat in the ring, with indicating what you're interested in, you can actually drive an incredible career. And I think what's uniquely different with Walmart is that it isn't just a job, it can be a career, because we have so many opportunities, right? And I look at my own journey, and I went and worked for a lot of different businesses, not necessarily because I wanted to leave great teams behind or great companies behind, but because of the size and the scale, that was the way that I would get incremental experiences. And so I guess it's an advertisement, if you will, to say that there are also wonderful opportunities here at Walmart for people to grow and to develop. And I think the more you can embrace learning as an ongoing aspect, and the more that you embrace change, then I'm excited to see what the future of Walmart looks like, because it really does start with each associate and their ability to bring their best to work. And so I just want to thank you, Drew and Alexis, for the chance. I wish I could individually go out and visit teams, but we'll get back going very soon.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
That's great advice, Donna. And, I really want to thank you for the time to come on and talk, but then also for all the things that you're doing. You're clearly making a difference, not only to millions of associates around the country, but also the country itself, and some of the things that you've done since you've been here. So thank you for your time, and thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.